All right, good morning, everybody. We're back here with Lumen for our second edition, more in-depth look at Lumen's catalog and what we have to offer. Before we get started, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Maria, who has some questions for Catrice about the mathematics.
Good morning, Catrice. Okay, so I had a couple of questions, or I guess clarification points. From what I understand, from what I saw in the video, the students pay $25 for OHM. Do they pay an additional $25 for Waymaker? That's two different fees, or is it the same for the entire package?
So great question. Thank you so much for asking. So I'll give a scenario here, an example. Let's say that you have a student who's taking college algebra and they're using the OHM platform. That would be a $25 cost for the student for the fall 22 semester, for example. If they're also taking Psych 101 and they're using the Waymaker platform, that's also an additional $25 for the fall 22 semester. So because they're two different courses, but they're both Lumen, students are still going to be paying for both of those textbook or course materials.
So in essence, if they're going to be taking statistics, that's automatically just $25.
Yes, ma'am, correct.
And it includes the OHM with it. That's what that does. Okay. Correct. All right. That makes more sense. I just wanted to make sure about that.
Maria, can I jump in 1 second before you
Yes,
go to the question? Just to clarify that, our net cost is $25. You all have a Follett bookstore. So through your Follett bookstore and our partnership, they only allow access codes. So your students can't purchase directly on Brightspace due to our agreement, but their cost is a little less than $30. I think it's like 28 and some change. We also have the option for, and this is for Waymaker or and we also have the option for their Follett Access program, which includes the course fee into the tuition for that course. So the students wouldn't actually see the fee, but then they would have no access code. So they start the class and the course is just open to them right away. So there's no purchasing a code at the bookstore or anything like that. It's just you start the class and you have OHM or Waymaker, whichever fits the course that you're teaching.
So in this way, it's very similar to what we already have with the DCI stuff, in that like it's kind of built into the cost of the class. So that $25, they're not even seeing it. It's because I've done the similar thing with Waymaker in terms of English 1010, and it's all populated right to D2L.
Right, and that's the one thing that we have just started this semester with Pearson. They actually have direct integration now, and the fee is added to the tuition cost. So the students don't see that fee, but they have to make sure that they stay registered. But what I was seeing as I was seeing what you were presenting, Catrice, was that it was similar to what my math lab has. And the fact that it's direct integration, I really love that, because that was a lot of the issues that we had. The fact that the student had to get an access code, they had to sign in with a username and a password, and they were like, everything is in different places and I don't know where is what. And we're still having that issue. I don't know why that's not clarified, but students still don't know where to find their homework. But from what I understood from the video, from the recorded session, OHM pretty much is maintained by Lumen, and you support it. And so if we have any issues, you will have a support team to answer all our questions 24/7 type thing. And I saw the fact that you had a 95.2 support rating, if I remember right. I appreciate that. I appreciated the fact that it was 99 point something that you were staying on without being, offline. That's one thing that is the timing of maintenance that Pearson has is a problem. Like we had midterms this past weekend. It was down for 24 hours doing a maintenance update, which I understand they have to be done because you've got to update your system to make sure you stay on track, that kind of stuff. It's just sometimes timing is really bad. Here's the other question I had. You, if I recollect on the workshop, said that you could add questions. So like you have already a prefab curriculum that you could choose your questions, whatever you want. And the question is, if I understood, you could do custom questions, not necessarily brought from another textbook, but just questions that you make up and you could create them in that system. Is that true or not?
You can add questions. Yes, that's correct.
And you can customize them however you want them. Okay.
Yeah.
And this actually sounds really similar to what Pearson's doing right now, because that's the issue we've had with a lot of other online homework systems. They're already prefab and you can't add or delete or you know what I'm saying is very customized, and that's it. You can't change it. And that's one thing that we do. We like to create some other questions, especially in statistics.
Now, I will say, I'm sorry to cut you off, but I will say, depending on the level of type of question, I do want to give that disclaimer. Now, if it's something that requires a significant amount of coding, then that's something that we would have to look into on like a call with implementation and my DEDL director of teaching and learning to see how complex the question is. But for all intents and purposes, generally speaking, you can add your own questions. Yes.
Okay. Thank you. That answers my main concerns right now. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Of course. Yeah. Everything else you hit the nail on the head with everything. So I'm glad that the recording worked out and I was clear with everything, but we have a great uptime. Like you mentioned, I'm just looking at the slide here, 100% uptime for and 99.97% uptime for Waymaker. And that's important. I think that what you said is true. It's a nuisance, for lack of a better phrase, to have to deal with systems going down during any time of the year, but specifically during midterms, finals, and back to school. So that's something that we're very proud of.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, thanks, Maria. I appreciate your questions. Some of the stuff we'll cover today might be a little bit redundant because you had some excellent questions that are things that I try to go over a little bit, but I'm going to go ahead and share my screen if that's okay. Okay, can you all see my screen? Okay, so just kind of to go over, I know there's just a few of you here, but if you would like to introduce yourself in the chat, just so we know who was here, give us a little information about yourself, the course or courses that you teach, and anything else that you might be interested in learning today. And we would also just really love to thank you all for allowing us to show Lumen with our Waymaker and OHM. And toward the end, Heidi's going to have a little bit to share with you about circles and opportunities that we have for professional development also. So that'll be just kind of like the conclusion. I know Robert had mentioned maybe possibly discussing that later on in November, but we just thought we'd give you a little bit of a teaser. And as a reminder, Lumen supports more than 30 course areas that are introductory level courses, along with math curriculum from development level to Calculus 3. And I want to take our conversation about Lumen a little bit deeper today, give you a little bit of insight on who you would be working with specifically, and also just a reminder that our mission is to enable unprecedented learning for all students, and we really work hard to achieve that goal. This is your Nashville State Community College team, and I'll try to explain what we do and how it's kind of so easy to adopt Lumen courses. So you've met Catrice, but she and Matt work together on our Nashville State team. So basically, their technical name is that they are regional sales directors, but basically what that means is that they are your folks that are going to work together either on OHM or Waymaker. They'll work with you, and their role is kind of to demo the courseware for you in your LMS, which is Brightspace, answer questions prior to adoption, help you find fits for your specific course needs. We have titles that are different from most campuses, that everybody's got kind of a different way of describing it, but we can find the learning outcomes that match yours and fit the perfect course for you if we have one. And then once you decide to adopt, they deliver that material to you, and then they'll introduce you to Casey or to me. And Casey is the person who you see on the screen below me. She's the OHM person who does the same thing that I do. So I'm Amy Horner. And so after you work with Matt on Waymaker, learning about that, and you decide to adopt, then I jump in to help you get your course set up in Brightspace, try to get you acclimated before you start teaching. But we don't stop like, okay, we got you your course and here you go. We don't stop there. I'm your main point of contact for Waymaker throughout each term to work with you on any questions, needs, concerns that you may have along the way. And Casey, who could not be here today, she does the same exact thing, same steps for the OHM courses. So once you're set up with Catrice, gives you all that information, she and Catrice work together on the OHM material and getting that set into Brightspace. Casey's absence, however, brings up another excellent support point. Should one or any of us be out of the office or for a day or for a vacation or whatever, each of us helps the other with customer service needs. So there's little wait time for even answers and solutions to things that just you may have in general, even students. So you have this entire dedicated team, as well as our very, very knowledgeable tech support team. I'm going to show you this next slide. We have kind of set up, it was on the slideshow the other day. You already have seen this, most of you, but these folks are very, very knowledgeable and dedicated to helping maintain support and satisfaction for our customers. This part right here, you'll see at the bottom of our website at lumenlearning.com. Scroll straight to the bottom, there's a support button and all of this pops up. So here with faculty training materials, there are videos, there's screenshots, written information to help orient you with your course if you need that, even after either Casey or I work with you to get that done. There's also faculty user guides that can help just provide that extra support that you might need just in the midst of teaching a class or whatever. I forget how to do this. You can go right here and take a look. And this technical support area, this would be a link on our website. It takes you to support options where you can either open a support ticket or you can even schedule a live support meeting with one of our tech specialists. So from this point, I'm going to hop over into Brightspace and just take a look really quickly at how simple it is to actually do an import. I'm not going to do an actual import for you because this is like our big kind of like our demo space. And if I tried to import another cartridge of one of the same courses that we have into this, it would break links and mess everything up. And I don't want to do that. So I will show you, though, it is super simple, especially in Brightspace. You just click on your import button. And when you're doing a new course, you're going to simply scroll down to the import components and click start. You would have a cartridge that one of us would send you, and you could just simply take that from your desktop and drop it right here, and then press import all components, and within seconds, it's just right there in Brightspace for you. So that's how simple the import is all by itself. One of the other things, or some of the other things that are pretty amazing, are just the simple way that you can compose your course. Like Matt mentioned the other day about Waymaker, same with OHM. These courses are all set up so that you can start teaching on day one with absolutely no course alterations, no modifications. You can just start teaching the course as is. But something that I find, just even as a former teacher, is like super amazing. If you have, like, say, a summer course and you've got 8 weeks to teach 16 weeks worth of material, you can combine the course modules. Let's say, let me think for a second. Let's say, okay, writing essentials and grammar essentials. Let's say you think that those two need to go together. You can do a couple of things. You can move this so that it's they're right next to one another. You could also open these up and open their study plan. You can hide tiles within the study plan if there's something that you don't have enough time to cover. Let's say we've got punctuation, and then over here we have commas. Well, maybe you've got something you can discuss about commas and punctuation later, and you just don't want to spend that extra time with the reading about commas and maybe even semicolons. So you can hide those. And then these won't show up anywhere in the material. And also it will take all of the questions that are associated with the learning outcomes for those two tiles. It will take those out of the pretest and also out of your quiz. So all those questions will disappear, and the only questions that will be included in those are the questions that are associated with the tiles remaining. So that's one option. You could also, and I'm going to do this, but I have to remember to move them back really quickly. You can also take, let's say, writing essentials and go into this study plan, and you can move these tiles into another study plan if you need to kind of combine the two together. So I can go to move, and I can move it to the grammar essentials study plan. And I want to put it, let's say, after section, and then I click the section after section, complete sentences. And then I click move selection. It's now gone. Same thing happens with the questions. I can now go down to the grammar essentials study plan. And it's right here. So my crew, please make a note to make me move this back later so I don't accidentally leave that. I don't want to waste anybody's time on the video doing it, but it's just that simple. They move that easily back and forth. You can also just completely take them out if you want to create your own, just an additional like extras folder. You could create a folder in by clicking new unit. I don't want to do it to this course because it'll mess up the course, but you can click that new unit and then create your next module. And when you save it and go back, then you can drop those extras into that as opposed to hiding it, however you want to organize it to make it make sense for you. Another thing that you can do that, that you can do is some people hate the titles of the modules. You can simply go down and here, go to edit. And if it's going to load for me, then you can just change this name and go down to save and close. And then that's your own title to that module that you wanted to name it. Sorry about that. I didn't mean to skip. So let me think. We also, quiz questions. I don't want to forget about that. You can, just as Catrice was explaining about the OHM, you can also arrange the quiz questions however you choose. You can go here. You can add additional chances on these quizzes for your students. But you can go simply to your answer key. On this, you can disable a question. Matt did go over a couple of these things the other day, but just to reiterate, you can do that. You can add questions. There's two different options in Waymaker, multiple choice or multiple drop downs. Just select the one that you want to use. It's taken a really long time today. Sorry about that. So then you can select which of the learning tiles that you wanted to work with, and then you find the outcome that was discussed and write your question, put your answers and your choices here. You can add as many choice responses as you want, and then you set the correct answers at the bottom and you just save and exit, and then that question will go into your specific quiz questions. Let me get out of here, maybe. There we go. And so then you can also preview those questions and see what shows up. These questions are different than the pool on your study plans, show what you know, but you also have the ability to edit those questions as well. You have two pools, same learning outcomes, but different questions. So they're not repeating the questions over and over in both areas. And that is usually helpful. So the last thing that I really want to talk about is our engagement center. The student engagement center is really an awesome feature because this is kind of one of those tools that you don't have all the time in the world to check up on every single student, especially if you have a full load of classes and you have, over 100 students. You just don't have the time to go in and message every single student. Well, this is going to do it for you. So you go into your student engagement center, and here you will see a couple of things. Matt went over this the other day, time-sensitive interventions and how you can use this messaging assistant and view the messages. You can also go into your student history. And in the student history, you can see every single thing that your students are doing. So any of the modules that they've worked on, you can see exactly what their quiz scores are. And if they've been completing the study plan tiles, it's marked with a yes if they have, and it's has a dash if there's been no activity at all in that or not completed all the way. So that gives you a better idea of how to work with your students on what they need to work on and what they should be completing. You want to make sure when you do this that you go into the settings. It should pop up automatically for you the first time that you open your engagement center, but you do want to go in and make sure that this button is toggled to on. It's a green on button. And then if it is, your messages will go out for you automatically. The students will actually reply to you, and they think that you're up at all hours of the night. They thank you for sending them messages, telling them how to proceed and how to do better. And also even just thank you for telling them that they did a great job. So it's a pretty great feature. And then let's see, I feel like I'm leaving something out and I apologize, but I did say Matt did go over this. This is the time sensitive interventions. Those we don't automatically send out for you because these are the students who are doing all of the study plan and they're getting the why because they're completing each of the tiles, but they aren't able to reach that 80% or whatever you set your minimum threshold for the achievement score. They're not able to achieve that score. So it gives you a little feedback on those students so that you can take a look and send out your message to reach out to provide support and help for them. And as far as just the Waymaker itself, it's pretty user friendly. It's super easy, but students who might not know Waymaker or have never used it for the or they're just using it for the first time, this Succeeding with Waymaker is a great thing to assign. And a lot of students, I can guarantee, would try to not do the work, but we have an amazing coworker who went in and made a couple of short videos, and this kind of gives an overview. These two little videos give a really great overview of how to use Waymaker successfully, and that will alleviate tons and tons of questions that they might have for you. So if I can suggest anything on the Succeeding with Waymaker for the students to do, I would say that they should watch those two short videos, and that will help you and them out tremendously. And so with that, I'm going to stop my share because I'm going to allow Catrice to kind of give you the same feedback as far as like, you know, what to do with OHM courses and how easy that is. And again, just remember that I am your Waymaker person and so is Matt. And so if you would like to take a deeper dive into this and a course that you teach, just give one of us shoot one of us an email, give us a quick call. We're happy to set up a meeting with you anytime. And then Catrice and Casey would be happy to do the same. So let me pop out of here and I'll mute myself, and Catrice, take it away.
All right, thank you. So I'm going to share my screen and show you a few things that show how easy it is to implement as well. Can you see my screen? Okay, great. So quickly here, I am just in the OHM platform, which should look familiar to you. And I want to quickly show and reiterate again how easy it is to add a new course and quickly talk about the difference between our templated courses and our community courses. So over on the left, I have, of course, a lot of different courses in my account. But if I wanted to add a new course, Maria, I know you teach several different things. I can just click add new course here. And then our templated courses are going to be those courses that are upkept and maintained by Lumen, as you mentioned earlier. So I'm going to go ahead and click copy a template course. And here are the list of courses. And then you've got the difference between the template courses and some of the community courses. So you can choose the drop down, choose your level, and then that'll kind of filter that. But let's just say I wanted to choose statistics. So I'm going to choose that since you mentioned that earlier, Maria, and I can copy this course into my account. So I just click copy. You can change the name if you're teaching a couple sections of it or what have you here. Add a password if you want, and then click submit. That's going to show up in your account, and I can click enter the course. So again, here's the home page. This is your hub for everything. Over on the left on the toolbar over here is a button similar to what Amy was talking about for the implementation piece and how you can connect this with your LMS. And it's super simple. What you would do is just click export. And here's going to be a few options for you to click regarding due dates and things like that that you set up in OHM before you copy over to Brightspace, because it just kind of makes your life easier. So depending on if you want to change dates or you want, start dates and different end dates, whatever you want, it just asks you to make those selections before it copies over. And of course, you just choose choose Brightspace, and you just download export cartridge. Now, when it gets over to Brightspace, it does a little bit of a handshake, and then it's going to look the same as I showed on the video the other day. The other thing I wanted to quickly talk about is our video library. So the great thing about OHM is pretty much anything that you want to do that's relatively simple in the platform, there's a video to show you. So for example, I'm going to hop over here to this tab, this YouTube tab. And what you're going to see is, for example, what I just showed you as far as exporting that course into Brightspace, there's a video that shows you how to do that. So even if you wanted to do that on your own, you could, because we have a video to guide you, and it doesn't depend on your LMS. So there's one for every single LMS in here. In addition to that, there are other videos here that show you how to do things like how to edit a question, how to copy a question. And of course, there's a litany of videos here, so I'm not going to read them all. If you want to add new assignments in the middle of the term, I know that happens often depending on, what's going on in the term. If you have a break in the term, or some students have this going on or that going on, you can add those things in the middle of your semester. We have an amazing feature called late passes that I spoke about, kind of like a token for your students. That way they have an option to turn in their work late and you've already approved it, so you don't have to deal with the management of that in the middle of the semester. So there are lots of videos, as you see here, that just kind of guide you on how to do that. I'm going to scroll down just a little bit more and talk about some of the other videos that are really great. Talking about assessments here. So assessments are very important, and we really like to give faculty the autonomy to choose the questions that are going to be in their assessments, because there are different questions that are important to different faculty members depending on your students. Ton of videos in here that show you how to do that. And let's see if there's anything else I want to talk about. Also videos on those templated courses that I just showed you. So I'm going to hop back over into Lumen OHM. I'm going to hop back over into the platform. I'm going to click on the quick rearrange button. And just to give you another example of how easy it is to use OHM. So I can show you the quick rearrange, and I talked about the quick rearrange on the video, but I want to just show the video on how to use quick rearrange, because I think that that's helpful. If you want to bookmark that, you can. So I have it pulled up here. And it just walks you through how to use the quick rearrange button. So I'm going to play it for just a second here, just so you can see how you have these resources available to you to use at your own pace and at your own speed, in addition to the customer support and the customer service that you get with myself and Casey.
We are also able to move this item outside our module as well. This allows us to quickly place any item within our course to another desired location.
So that's just a quick version of the video that would be accessible to you, just showing you how to use the quick rearrange. He spoke about how you can use, take a pretest from one module, move it to another module, and so on and so forth. And those are the things that are really important to faculty when they're making their course their own. So that is all I wanted to kind of double down on today and reiterate, because those are features that are really important to faculty members and really touch on how customizable our platform is, in addition to being affordable. So I'm going to go ahead and close out on my part and stop my share. Oh, yes, please go ahead.
Here's my question. Let's say I have a blind student. How do I able to successfully that student be able to take the course and succeed? I mean, how much of this accessibility do you have in place to be able to accommodate that type of student?
So that's a great question. And I will say, please feel free, Heidi, to jump in here a little bit at the end if I don't cover it all the way. But we have screen readers available for students that have a hard time or that are blind. And that is what a lot of our faculty use for their students. We do also have a partnership with oh my gosh, I cannot think of the
It's
name.
the Perkins School for the Blind.
Yes, the Perkins
Okay.
School for the Blind. And that is, they review our content and make sure that it is accessible to students that are blind as well. And Heidi, I don't know if you wanted to add any more to that.
Sure. The only other thing I would probably add there is that all of the videos are absolutely closed captioned, but as Catrice noted as well, most everything is, the coding language is readable, so to speak, by most screen readers, because we do understand that, you know, the screen reader of choice is up to an individual student. But as Catrice noted, through our partnership with the Perkins School for the Blind, we've really kind of tried to commit as much as we can in terms of time and resources to make sure that our materials are accessible. We do have a newly updated VPAT as well, which is kind of that more formalized, documentation related to accessibility specifically for OHM that we're happy to share with you and your colleagues as well.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
Thank you for that, Heidi. I was actually going to mention that one of the primary factors when I was looking at Lumen that, made me decide to go with Lumen for 1010 and 1020 when I was doing the grant was specifically that they had a very high VPAT score already published on their website, which made it very easy for me from an accessibility standpoint to justify it.
Awesome. Did you have any other questions, Maria? No? Okay. Thank you.
And I'll just add that our accessibility page to the chat there as well, so everyone here has it. But then, Robert, we can also follow up with you and others on the call afterwards to provide additional resources as needed. Perfect. All right. So I think it's my part at this moment. So appreciate everyone's time. What I wanted to do is share a little bit around what we do to support faculty success. And that's really through our professional development. And that's a program that we call Lumen Circles. So bear with me one moment. I'll just share my screen so we can walk through a couple pieces related to Lumen Circles and how we are committed to making sure that students are successful and faculty is successful when using Lumen. And I know, Robert, I know that you shared as well that you've actually been a participant in the Lumen Circles session in the past. So excited for that. And absolutely as much or as little as you'd love to jump in and interrupt anything that I'm saying with your own experiences, would absolutely love that. As we talked about before, this is just kind of a transition from thinking about how we support student success with our courseware. We want to always make sure that we're supporting faculty success as well. One key thing to think about too is that our approach to professional development is really around supporting faculty no matter what courseware is in use, if any. And so don't ever feel like, oh my gosh, I'm not using, a piece of courseware from Lumen so that I couldn't use professional development. The real intention is to make sure that it's accessible to anyone and everyone who's interested. And so let me just advance this here briefly so that I can give you kind of an overview of the program itself. Right now, kind of as of this week, actually, Lumen itself is celebrating its 10th anniversary as a company. And so we're excited to share that, but also just the milestone of over 1,000 faculty members from across the country from more than 100 different institutions have gone through a Lumen Circle session. So just really excited and proud of that. Included there at the bottom are some of the colleges and actually statewide systems that we support through Lumen Circles. Super high level, just to give you a sense of what you would expect in a Lumen Circles experience, is a couple of the anchor points here that I'll talk through. And the biggest one to start out with is just the knowledge that it is actually a virtual community. Every Lumen Circles experience runs online in an asynchronous fashion. So while you're in a virtual community, you're sharing with others. It's really like a community of practice with peers who are interested in learning and developing in similar ways. We understand obviously that your schedules are very, very tight. So it's an experience where you can figure out the timing that works for you in a given week in order to work through the activities that are part of the experience. So it's asynchronous, and it's also facilitated, and I'll talk about that in just a moment, facilitated by real experts in the field who are experts in professional development and specifically a lot of the themes that our offerings cover. The second one I kind of touched on already, but the biggest thing is that everything we do is around evidence-based teaching practices. So that's really the anchor point of the experience for faculty. And I'll touch on that a little bit more as well. Reflection and sharing is a really, really key part of it. So most circles are no more than 15 faculty members together in a group. Normally it's about 12 to 15. And that's by design. We really want to make sure that people can make connections, learn and grow with each other. There's a big part related to reflecting on your own teaching, sharing ideas and collaborating with colleagues so that you can change and update and try new things in your classroom, in your own experiences in real time. And then final piece there, and this is kind of the idea around deepening impact, is most times we really, really like it if folks are actively teaching a course while they're in a Lumen Circles experience so that you can, in real time, try some of the new strategies, incorporate and get real-time feedback from your students. And we feel that that really deepens the impact because you can put something into practice right away. What you see on the screen here before you is an overview of the themes that we offer with our professional development. So kind of across the center there under the icons are the 5 themes that are always available for a Lumen Circles experience. And so as you can see, it's active learning, belonging and inclusive teaching fundamentals, evidence-based teaching, online teaching, and then specifically teaching with open educational resources or OER enabled pedagogy. So a lot of folks, if they're using Lumen courseware, they also gravitate towards that one as well. But as I mentioned before, all of the Circles themes support any type of interaction with your students related to course materials. That's not a relevant factor for the professional development part of it.
Yep, and just to drive that point home, at the time when I was in the Circles, I was not teaching any Lumen materials. In fact, I was doing the first rendition of the OER for Early World Literature, which is an OER text, but was developed with someone else because at the time Lumen did not have the creative team space. Not that they didn't have the team, they didn't have the space for that new course. And I would also point out that for those of us who've gone through AQ with Nashville State, a lot of the principles were similar that were covered with the AQ certification. But I would say that this, my experience with Circles was much more like what our teaching center had created in terms of like faculty, not critique, I'm trying to think of the right word, but like faculty observation of other people's teaching, right? To get feedback from other teachers. And this was a great time for me because I was in Circles during the second semester of the pandemic. So like everything had been pushed to online and we had this section for online teaching, and this class that wasn't supposed to be online was now online. So it actually kind of helped a lot to have a community of people be like, hey, what are you guys doing in terms of this online class? And everything being online now thanks to the pandemic. And I got a lot of actual really good feedback and a lot of help from my participants in Circles who were other colleagues teaching at different campuses for what to do in that scenario. So it actually helped me quite a bit.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that experience. I'll advance the slide here, but just would ask you to kind of keep in mind and think through, okay, these are the 5 themes that we explore in a given Circles experience. But no matter the theme that one chooses, everything is really anchored in this evidence-based teaching framework, which is just really the foundation of Lumen Circles. And so when you're working through the Circles experience, you're Each week is dedicated to a specific piece of this framework. And so no matter what theme you're part of, you're always going to be exploring the topics that are here. How do I make a supportive and challenging environment for my students? How do I make sure my course is varied and organized in a specific way? How do I make sure that I'm incorporating belonging and inclusion principles into my course and into my teaching? So no matter the theme, this is still the framework. And so I point that out just to say sometimes folks may pick one that's specific around OER, for example. The exciting thing there is that we're still bringing in topics like belonging and inclusion as well. So it doesn't have to feel like either or. It's really just a very interconnected experience as it relates to the framework that is the foundation.
I'll just jump in last time, I promise.
No, please.
It was a pretty interesting scenario with that last part that you guys had about belonging. Me and Valerie Ballou, another teaching center fellow at the time, well, I'm not anymore, but she is. We put together a presentation on queuing the syllabus, which is basically making it much friendlier to students rather than it being like this quasi-legal document for professors. And it actually led to a course-wide examination of all of our master syllabus's language. So it had like almost like campus-wide positive response, even though it was really meant to just kind of be something for individual faculty. It turned into something much bigger by the end of it.
Thank you for sharing that. And I would add too, I know we hear very, very frequently from our participants in Lumen Circles that they end up making connections. And sometimes it feels like lifelong connections at this point with faculty members from across the country. So I know a lot of times, even after the Circles experience has ended, there's still connections that take place. There was one instance where because of the work that folks did in their classes, that one teacher with her students in one state ended up connecting via Zoom with the students from another state. So almost kind of like a pen pal, if you will, kind of situation, but really involved the students as well. So it was just kind of this very like natural organic thing that happened, but both faculty members felt like it really enriched their experiences. And then they were able to pass that on directly to students who were able to make connections with peers who were in a very, very similar situation to them that they would never have interacted with ever without that. As I mentioned before, every Lumen Circles experience is facilitated by an expert. So part of the experience does require folks, like I mentioned, to collaborate, work on activities, and the facilitator is there to make sure that happens. And then obviously make sure that individuals are communicating and providing that feedback and the reflection that is so integral to the program. So what I wanted to kind of encapsulate towards the end here, and I have a couple more pieces, but just so that you can think through, number one, what does the cost look like? The numbers that are on the screen here, just so you can see on the left-hand side, everything I've been describing so far is really what we consider that Lumen Circles, fellowship, which is a 9-week experience. As I mentioned, the virtual, asynchronous. Typically, that is a requirement of about 2 to 3 hours per week. So just a lot of people ask that question, just so you have a sense of what that is. In addition to that, you can take 2 weeks off. So we also understand that life happens, schedules happen. So there's that flexibility built into the 9-week fellowship. But we really try to make sure that it's limited to a 2-week break period, just because the experience is so reliant on folks interacting with their peers. So if we have a lot of people missing, then obviously we don't want the experience to be diminished in any way. So that one is $750 for the 9-week period. A lot of times if we have a much bigger adoption, so to speak, around usage of something like Lumen Circles, then we can talk through what a larger agreement could or couldn't look like related to pricing. I would think of that as a ceiling, the $750, and we love to be able to work with folks to figure out specific needs. The piece on the right, I didn't touch on as much during this time, but we can do a follow-up if needed and send some info. Our Success Accelerator program is still a Lumen Circle. The idea with that is that it is targeted specifically towards people who are using Lumen courseware. So that's the one area where if you want to enhance your knowledge, your pedagogy related to specifically Lumen Wavemaker or specifically Lumen Ohm, then that's one that we call Success Accelerator, a little bit shorter, 6-week time period. And the price for that one is $350 a seat. So just wanted to kind of make sure that you have the nuts and bolts, so to speak, of the actual offerings. I want to pause though for questions. I apologize because I know I kind of jumped to the to my last kind of closing slide here, but happy to address any questions whatsoever related to Lumen Circles itself. All right. If there's none, just to provide some context to what's on the screen here before, obviously Amy shared the contact team. And I just wanted to say, you know, first point of contact is really Matt Weaver, who's on the call for Waymaker. So that's where we support the disciplines that we consider kind of more of those qualitative humanities type disciplines, but social sciences, business, English, computer applications, psychology, all that is your man there is Matt. And then as you met Catrice, she is our expert for Ohm, covering math, chemistry, and accounting. Certainly appreciate your time, Robert. Happy to stop sharing at this point, or certainly open it up to any additional questions related to any topic.
I definitely appreciate you all being here and showing us all what you guys have to offer. Again, I think that a lot of faculty, hopefully when they have the chance to review the recordings or to go and look at your content itself, will be pleasantly surprised with how in-depth and professional it is. But Maria, did you have any questions or?
Not at the moment. I mean, I'm quite impressed with the development of this program, and I just need to kind of meditate on it and kind of check it out more further before I have to, but I'm good to go right now. Any questions? Thank you so much.
Great. And I'll just put out there on the recording as well for anyone who is watching this later, if you want to schedule some time with myself as the OER facilitator and Lumen specifically to look at stuff for your department or a specific course and how those things would work, we can definitely set that up and, you know, go through that creation process, what it might look like inside of our D2L and how it's looked for me using Lumen sources as I build out English 1010, 1020, etc. Happy to help.
Thanks, Robert. I just threw the link to where you can find the complete list of Lumen courses on our website. So you could just copy and paste that into your URL address bar, or right now you could obviously click it, but in the recording, just it's lumenlearning.com/courses, and you can just see what all we have available.
Yeah, and it'll be up on the website as well as soon as I have these videos embedded.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.